Well, doing the brakes on this front axle over here, I run into something. Doesn't sound good. Actually, I could feel it when I was getting the drum off. I could feel the in and out play a little bit. So, I'm not going to record the brake job, just the changing the hub. So I'm gonna pop the brake shoes off because I got to take the brake shoes up to the dealer and turn them in as a core. I already got the new brake shoes here, and since I have to go back up there to get a hub, I'll just go ahead and bring the cores back. So we'll be doing video on changing the hub. I'll have to put the wheel back on it and a couple of nuts, put some weight on it so I can take this nut off, because this is not your regular hub where you take the oil seal oil cover off the outside and take the nuts off. It doesn't work that way on this one. I just talked to the parts store, not the parts store so much, but the dealer, and they told me it's going to be around $1,600, 14 something, $1,490 or whatever, I don't know, plus tax, plus shipping, because they don't have any that's out of town. And I think he said they got one in Indianapolis, and I'm here in St. Louis area. I changed these hubs. That's why I'm pointing the camera at these two rusty hubs. I changed these probably 15 years ago or more. I've been driving the truck 18 years, and I know it wasn't too awful long after I bought it when I thought I needed to change them. There was a recall on them. I didn't know about the recall until a couple of months after I changed them, but I had like grease leaking out of the bearing caps or whatever. Needless to say, I got two old ones that have been sitting in the shed for a lot of years. I am going to, my hands are clean right now, but I am going to grab a rag and spin these bearings around and see if I think I can get away with just putting one of these on, because I don't think I had bearing issues when I changed them. Just looked like some grease was leaking out of them. And I talked to the dealer and they told me, yeah, it's time to change them. They were probably just selling me parts I didn't need at the time. But this one here, yeah, there's no grease leaking out of there, but the bearings are obviously gone. Well, that's what's up next. I still haven't taken the shoes off yet. And these are good shoes, but they're cracked. That's the only thing wrong with them. There's plenty of meat left. Anyway, I got to put a wheel back on it, put some weight on it so I can take this nut off of there. I got the brake shoes off and I got the wheel back on, and not all the way on. I just got 3 lug nuts on there, and I let the jack down and got some weight on the wheel. Hopefully I got enough, and getting ready to take that nut off of there. I'm going to use a ratcheting torque wrench. I guess all torque wrenches are ratcheting these days, because I just don't want to hammer on the corners of that that hubcap on there and break the paint off of it if I don't have to. So I'll just see if I can get it off with this. Might be hard. That was tight. I already tapped underneath this one and lifted it up. It's not straight though. Huh. I can see that it's breaking right down there on the bottom, but there's plenty more on there. I'm glad I only folded 2 over. Yes, this fits tight on there, just 3.5 fits on that too. I'm going to go ahead and try to break those loose. Needs to come back this way just a little bit to the left. There. Oh, that's loose. Now that's the only thing holding the hub on tight, and the weight is on the wheel. So I'm going to go on ahead and get the weight back off the wheel and start jacking it up. Got the wheel off. Now let's see if I can break this nut loose. I don't want it to slip and fall. I'm going to go ahead and use the impact on it. Got to be careful these corona days, because if I get hurt, it might be hard to get medical attention if I need it. Now there's a big steel plate in there. This all looks good in there. It looks a whole lot better than the one that I'm going to put on there. But I don't know if they make bearings to just change on this thing or not. It's been so long since I took that off, I just don't remember. I seem to be making progress wedging a crowbar behind this, or anything you can wedge, pickle fork, anything, between the spindle there and the hub, and just beating on the hub with a sledgehammer. And it seems to be moving out little by little. I am still wrestling with this thing because I do not want to build a press. I could build a press out of heavy steel to go across, bolt onto two of these studs, and be really solid and heavy in the middle with a big nut on the inside and a big bolt, and push that out. And if I can't find a shortcut, I'll have to do that tomorrow. I don't want to do it tonight, but I'll have to do it. But when I'm still trying to MacGyver this thing a little bit. I got a couple of pieces of steel. They're not long enough to just stay where I want them, so I got one of them longer, one standing on a brick. The shorter one is vice gripped to it, giving me about ½ an inch of space there. I'm going to wedge this chisel in there, or I could get a pickle fork and use it. And I'm going to try that, see if I can push it out some more. We're getting somewhere, but I am going to take this apart and add another shim to this and clamp it on. I don't know if I can do it with a vice grip with one more piece. I might have to get a C-clamp. But wedging that out and then hitting over here on this side with a sledgehammer is doing it. I got it. Not all of it though. Got the hub off, and now I'm out of breath a little bit, but I got to get that bearing off of there, and that bushing that's underneath the bearing. I may have to do a little torch surgery. Hope not, but let's see what I can get done here. I plucked the seal off the back of the bearing, and then I just started poking around here. I'm glad I haven't tried to put a torch on it yet, because this is a plastic bearing carrier, or roller carrier, and it's about to break off, and the rollers are going to fall on the floor. So I can get the grease off of this thing. I don't have a bearing puller that big. I got some little ones for like small, like electric motors and stuff, but I do not have one for this. And with this, the Corona thing going on, it's going to take forever to get one delivered here. So I'm going to just clean this thing up, and I'll go on ahead and burn that off with a torch, that inner race. And don't worry about me damaging the spindle. There's two reasons for that. One, it doesn't spin on the spindle anyway. The inner race sits stationary on the spindle. The rollers roll around it. That's one thing. The other thing, hey, I've been using a torch 40 years. I know how to use a torch, and I can cut that off of there, and it's highly unlikely I'm going to scar that spindle at all. I can even cut it off of the threads without hurting the threads. And you guys that don't know much about a torch, you think I'm lying. No, I can do it. I've done it a lot of times. So I think I'm going to end up cleaning the grease off of this and burning that inner race off of there with a torch. Well, I'm going to clean everything up for the night and get on this tomorrow morning. But before I do that, I got to go over there for a minute.